Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Here we are in September already. Welcome to our monthly meeting. All right. So we got the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Colin pulls that up. So I haven't heard from Jack Brown, our speaker, talking about autonomous driving. And so we're going to postpone him until another time. But that gives us more time to talk with the folks out in Arizona, and that's great. So we really appreciate that. And so in addition to the announcements that I will cover with the PowerPoint, Emma, you said that there's an event in October, so we'll also have Emma mention that. But so, yeah, welcome to, well, it says August up there, but really we're in September, so that's okay. It's funny. It reminds me of a story, and Jason can probably relate to this. So the astronauts, before they fly, they are Capcoms. And so if we can relate to what they're doing, their job, so the old consoles in mission control would have a piece of plexiglass covering some things, and then they would have markers, so grease pencils. And so what one Capcom, the outgoing Capcom, would do to help, I'm using air quotes here, the next Capcom is, say, for example, we were flying the vehicle Atlantis, and then but the previous vehicle had been of a different name. So on this plexiglass in grease pencil would be the name of the vehicle, so that the Capcom, the astronaut, would know what to say going up to the cruise. So the friendly outgoing Capcom would erase that and put the previous vehicle. So that way the incoming person coming to their shift, would look at that, so they'd know to say, Houston, Atlantis, or Atlantis, Houston, I should say. And so of course they would get messed up. Yeah. But that's what they would do to each other. Yeah. That's the friendly kind of things that they would do, play games with each other. So yeah, Seth can't believe it. No, they wouldn't do that. Right. Well, this is out there where Capcom sits and everything. So anyway. Yeah. Okay. So the big event we've got coming up in 2 days is our Wings and Wheels event. So this is the first one that we're going to do. So over on the far side of the Hobby Airport ramp or area where the planes fly, they have the old 1940 air terminal. And they've turned it into a museum. And actually the new control tower is right next to that building. The way I understand it, the backup control tower is the original 1940 building. They've just put new wiring in and such. So it can actually function as a backup control tower still. And so over in that area, there's the ramp side, and then there's the parking lot side. So we are invited to bring our vehicles and to talk to the public about them on the parking lot side. And so far, I think we have about 5. So I'd like to encourage everybody, come and bring your vehicles if you can. And if you can only stay part of the time, that's fine, because it's just an open drive in and drive out on that side of the parking lot. And so we are also going to have an easy up tent, and I will bring a table and chairs, and we're going to have some handout literature and things like that. So it'll run from 10 until 3, but you don't have to come and stay the whole time, whatever works for you. And so Emma bringing her trailer will show people how they can tow with EVs. And so as you can see up there, there's going to be tacos available to buy if you're out there with family members that get hungry. Yeah. And we will also bring some, probably some bottled water and stuff like that too. And so, right, won't be as hot, but we'll have water anyway. Yeah, and the way we understand it now, right. And so there'll also be something about a new book that's being published. The author's supposed to be there. So, so that's on that event. So Colin, the next page. So following in a couple weeks, again on Saturday, we have our NDO event. So the National Drive Electric Weeks events nationwide start on the 23rd. They run through the 30th. So we're doing it at the 30th over at IKEA. And that's worked out real well. So again, please, if you are able to, volunteer to bring your car and yourself. And you can bring family members if they can go shopping part of the time if they like. And we always have a good time out there. And again, we'll have some literature to hand out to folks, I think. And so that ought to be fun. And that we've got scheduled from 9 till noon. So everybody gets freed up at that time. And so that ought to be fun on the 30th. Okay. And then in November, there's Electrify Expo over in Austin. So in past years, we've had subsets of our club members arrange among themselves and go, and really had a good time. And you can see a lot of electric bikes and things like that out there. Okay. And after this one, we're always looking for speakers. So we were just talking with Bill about maybe having an Amazon boss about their delivery talk, and that would be really fun to see what the status is of that. So around Houston, some of you may have started seeing, in addition to the Ford Transits that deliver Amazon packages, there's now electric Rivian vehicles. You saw one, all right. Video, okay. And the package today delivered one, great. So come on in, guys. Uh-huh. 60, 70 miles he does. Okay. And he starts with 140 shown charge. Okay, miles. All right. Very good. Very good. Okay. Anything else, Colin, in the display, in the PowerPoint? Oh, about joining the national organization, of course, you get the benefits. There's a connection for EV loans with the credit union. And of course, other data that you can see on there. So local chapter, we get a portion of the national dues too. So the national is myeva.org. Here, of course, we're houstoneva.org. Okay. All right. And then there's some, we have business cards up here. So folks that are here in person, please take some of those so that you can give them out to folks. And that's always handy. And okay. Yeah, sure. Good that you hand out cards. All right. I like that. Yeah, absolutely. So, and here you can see some sites as well. And then I will hand the mic over to Emma because there's an additional public event on October 14th.
Yeah, so the Johnson Space Center will be doing an open house, and this is the first time since, I forget, 2017 or 18, pre-COVID, whatever, that they've done an open house because obviously, even before COVID, I think they didn't have open houses for some reason or another. Anyway, so October 14th is a Saturday from 10 a.m. to, I believe, 2 p.m. So it's open to the public. Johnson Space Center will let you come in and see a bunch of things. Our JSC Electric Enthusiast Club, JVEC, is going to have a display as well. And we're going to be featuring the level 2 chargers that they've installed recently on site at the center. And then I'm going to request that a couple more people come by and display their car if they can. But if you want to bring your families, if you're not related to JSC and want to come see what's going on there. And also, actually, there's an eclipse that's going to happen, I think 11 something on that day. And they're going to have eclipse glasses available for folks. And so you can observe the eclipse from on site as well. So
perfect. Thank you very much. All right. So we'll throw this back over here again and I'll get in front of it. Okay. And so Bill, we'll have you talk a little bit about your project at the end and anyone else who would like to volunteer information as well. So for folks in the room, there's a sign-in sheet. So if you haven't signed it in yet, that would be good. Appreciate it. Just lets us know how many folks that we're having at meetings and things like that. So, and as I mentioned at the very beginning, we advertised having a speaker talking about autonomous vehicles, but we're going to delay him until another time. So yeah, and so that'll be good. But we've got other good things coming up in October and in November. And then in December, we've got our annual social, when we encourage folks to bring family members. And that's always fun. And we'll see whether we want to do that at the Cat's Deli again, or choose another spot. But we can all talk about that as we get closer to December. So there's no regular second Thursday meeting in December since we have the social. And so I think that's all I have for announcements. So Jim, we're so glad to have you connected from Arizona. Yeah.
Sure.
And
good to be here. We have contact, Houston.
yeah, contact. I like that. Yeah. And so I believe you've got a presentation, a set of slides, some things to talk to. That's really
I do. And we have autonomous vehicles here. We have some of the best electric vehicles in the world made at a factory here. We have battery recycling places. So hopefully I can cover all sorts of different things that relate.
okay. Yeah, and we've got things in common between Houston and the folks there in Arizona, all the hot weather and so forth that affects batteries. And so, 100, only 100.
Yeah, right now it's only 100.
Down to 100, because I know that they broke a record in Phoenix. They had something like 54 straight days of over 110. Not
Yep.
over
July never got under 110 every day.
Yeah,
Pretty
I mean,
warm.
that's something. So, but okay, Jim, I'll turn it over to you since you've got the PowerPoint.
Yep, I do. Or I didn't know if you folks were going to run it or just wanted to look at it. I have it here. I can start it up.
Yeah, if you share your screen, then that way you can run it.
Okay. Let me do that here. Now I'll see if I can.
Okay, we're seeing something pop up here. It says Google so far.
Yep. Let me see if I can find I put it on my desktop. Let's see, where did here we go. Get that started and we'll see if you can see it okay.
Yeah, I like seeing all those stars, yeah, in your background.
Yeah, because I love astronomy and stars. I love solar. I have a huge systems that I own out here in the public.
Oh, great.
Okay, so hopefully it's there, and let me just see if I can remember how we do this show. Slideshow from the beginning. Okay. Hopefully
Yeah.
everyone can see that one.
Yes. Yep, we got it.
Okay. Cool. Because again, I love electric vehicles, mainly because the batteries have gotten so much better. Everybody knows that's the key. Back before, unfortunately, we're the home of where the EV1s were all collected back. They were only leased and they all got crushed. And you're like, man, that's just horrible. But a big secret that you'll hear here probably for the first time you've ever heard is one of our members bought all the EV1 pickup trucks. They had the EV1 drivetrain. A lot of them had a few of them had nickel metal hydride batteries. He bought every one of them, reconditioned them or fixed them up a little, and resold over 100 of them. They leased the cars so they could crush them. They never thought, they didn't lease the pickup trucks. They sold them to utilities. So all the different utilities across the country had bought them. So our friend was smart enough to get those. Then he talked to the guy that was pulling the nickel metal hydride batteries out of the EV1s and taking them all the way to California to get recycled. He says, hey, how about you drop them off here? How much are you getting for a load? I'll buy them off you. he got all the nickel metal hydride batteries, broke into the controller on the EV1 trucks, retrofitted them to go in the parameters of the nickel metal hydride battery, and resold those to nice cooler parts of the country like Seattle, Chicago. So it was kind of a special trick to be able to do that. And we thought it was ironic that General Motors, as big as they are, no, we can't support these trucks. We got to take them back and the cars and crush them. There's just no way to support them. And one of our members figured out how to break in the controller, reprogram it, set it up for the whatever kind of batteries you could get, and saved all those trucks. So there's actually some of those you'll see on the road even today out different places. So
Well, yeah, that's fantastic that they were saved. Absolutely.
yeah, it's one of those secrets that General Motors didn't want to talk about. And then there's also BYU University got an EV1 pickup vehicle, of course, stripped without the batteries and stripped out the controller. So they had it there on campus, never to be driven on the street. And our friend that saved all the trucks said, hey, I've got extra drivetrains, I've got extra batteries. Let me come up and I'll help you get it running. So he went up with spare parts, got that EV1. It's the only one in the world. You'll see it's online. I should have found the link to that on YouTube. And you'll see him actually driving it around. He had everything working as good as the original car, except the regen braking. He was missing a module to be able to get that part going. But it's the only EV1 in the world that you could actually drive. Now, being a responsible university, they didn't want to get in trouble, so they never took it out on public roads. But pretty neat that they could recreate and get this vehicle running. And if they let this, my member of our club here, he could have saved all those cars and supported them. He said, I'd have no problem doing it. But of course, General Motors wouldn't let him do that. Anyway, that's one of the secrets about the EV1 and the crushing of it, that most people have never heard that story. But if you look at it online, you'll find it, and pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, anyway, let's see if I can get going here on this. I put a little of my background. I worked as a telecommunication person for the phone company. I worked with them for over 22 years and became one of the youngest engineers in New York State. Then I quit and went to work for a wireless company. Everybody thought I was crazy. And I said, no, I see that's the future. And it was a blast and got to be a lot of fun. And then Iridium Satellite, another secret that not many people know, their communication hub, the only one in the world, is right here in Tempe, Arizona.
Oh, I didn't know that's where they had their hub. Okay.
Yep. So I went to work for them, and in the backyard there is where we have all our earth stations that track the satellites. And then as the first one's going, the second one's coming, and we have a third one that will come up to keep track of the satellites and get the communication. And the original Iridium put in my Motorola was a loser. It was losing money. Couldn't make a penny. When I worked with this company that took it over, they were making money the very first day because they made it all run, and every phone call that came to land came through Tempe, Arizona. Every satellite is solar powered. I said, this is the greatest thing ever. And we had it all run through that. So it made it very simple, reliable. And to this day, it still works like that, except we also have a ground base, another secret nobody's supposed to know, in Hawaii. So the government uses the Iridium system for military use because it's so secure. The signal on the satellites to the phone change communication mode almost every 10 seconds. So almost impossible for anybody to break in, monitor, tap into the line, except for here where it comes to the landline. So it's pretty cool system. So again, I got to work in that kind of stuff. And when I worked in those, my biggest thrill was always working on the AC and DC inverters, power backup, all that, and all the offices. I would go check all the equipment and everything and monitoring that. Little did I know that that would be perfect for when I went to work with electric vehicles and also got to work with solar. Yeah, maybe what I should do also is say I invite questions. If anybody has any questions, you can stop me and I'll be glad to explain anything. I don't want to make this like a lecture where you go, I had a million questions, but you never stopped talking. So anyway, so my first electric cars I had were hybrid, because that was the only thing available. And then I would get into other cars and more electrics. I'll show you pictures of my current cars I own. And let's see. Oh, that's right. I guess when I have the camera on, you can't see I'm holding up.
Hot Wheels.
Oh, I guess you still can. 2 Hot Wheels. These are Lucid Air. And the Lucid Air vehicle, again, is supposed to be one of the most expensive, but also like 500-mile range, very efficient, super smooth. And that's being made right here in Casa Grande, a short ways from where I live here in Chandler. So kind of cool to have that company pop up. That was people that used to work at Tesla, went over and started Lucid. And they're right here in town, which is just so amazing to have a company like that. You know, and they say that Tesla also looked at making a factory here in Arizona, but Arizona wasn't too friendly to electric vehicles or to solar. So supposedly when Tesla was looking at it, it said, no, Arizona is not the place to be. They want other places. But then by the time Lucid and other companies came along,
Yeah.
our legislators, our people in the state said, wait a minute, if we offer a good incentive, they'll locate here and it'll be great for business.
Hmm.
So we have the Solo electric car, a little 3-wheeler that's being made here in Mesa. They just stopped making the 3-wheel. They're going to switch over to 4-wheel, a regular type car, but small and efficient. So that's kind of cool where that's here.
Which brand of car is that switched from 3 wheels to 4?
Solo.
Solo.
I
Okay.
think I got a picture of them in here someplace. It's a
Okay.
little 3-wheel, 1-person vehicle. Now I like small, efficient vehicles, but I wasn't too impressed with the way that one was built and how it was made. I have an Aptera.us. If you ever look that up, it looks just like an airplane with no wings.
Yeah, we've talked about the Aptera here in club meetings a number of times.
Oh, fantastic. So I have one on order because it's very efficient. You can actually get it with solar on it. Even though I have solar at home that makes more than I use, I still want to get one just to show people, hey, you can park this any place at the Grand Canyon. You could be charging while you're just parked in the sun. Pretty remarkable vehicle.
Yep.
I also, I checked all the different LED lights. I used to use a lot of those solar tube lights. I have solar hot water. I have only a 4-kilowatt solar PV system. And a lot of people go, oh, that's not enough to run very much. But I made my house super efficient. So every month, all year now for 22 years, I've made more energy than I use. So I have a bill most of the year that's actually zero. It
All
even
right.
pays my connection charge. And
Oh.
I'll show you some of my bills up here a little later. There's my solar hot water panel. A lot of people don't want to bother with solar hot water, but I said, hey, I like it. And there's my house here. You can see it with the solar panels up on the roof.
Yep.
They actually would face the wrong way to the west, but I put them up tilted at 20 degrees facing south. So they produce, and they're spaced out. They produce just as good as ones directly facing south if your roof was slanted that direction.
Okay.
So again, I have bills of zero, which you'll get to see. You've probably all seen this chart about telling how efficient a direct electric vehicle is compared to hydrogen or any other fuel. And when I look at things like that, it's like when Elon Musk of Tesla looks at electric vehicles He's like, there's nothing even close. So efficient, can run on renewable energy, can do the regenerative braking, all the things that some of these other vehicles can't do. Just totally amazing. So of course, that's why I love electric vehicles.
Yeah, and it's great to get that data out there to folks because we're constantly asked about hydrogen and of course compared to conventional vehicles. So
Yes,
it's
you show
great
the efficiency.
to have a chart right here that shows everybody where those energy losses are.
Yep. And the fact that hydrogen can explode, very explosive. I mean, just lots of different things. And then of course, small vehicles like a bicycle is really cool because they're so efficient. I have a bicycle right behind me. I ordered electric bikes and put them together for some friends that run an electric bike company downtown Phoenix. And I go there every week and just volunteer and help them put bikes together, fix bikes. Otherwise, they have no way to sell them or do anything. They also have a huge noodle machine. They're a Chinese company that makes noodles for Chinese food. And when that big, huge machine, it's as big as 2 buses, didn't work, everything's marked in Chinese on it. They go, I see, what do we do? Who we call? Oh, we call Jimmy. So I go down and I fix it in like 10 minutes. I fix it 3 or 4 times for him now. It's like, yeah, that's just what you do. And someone has something that doesn't work, it's electric, you fix it.
Yep.
I used to have a little Chevy Spark. I always try to have the most efficient, lowest priced electric vehicle. So when I talk to people, they go, oh yeah, you're a rich guy, you own a Tesla. I say, no, I drive a Chevy Spark, all electric, very efficient, very low price. But then General Motors kind of stopped their support for them, even though they were pretty good. I used to get a 100-mile range in mine. It's only registered as 84-mile range when it was new, but I always drive eco hypermile, even when I'm driving electrics.
And I remember reading about when those were only available in California, and I was hoping that they'd make it to Texas and other places, and they never did.
Yeah, well, they did it as used vehicles, but not new.
Hmm.
So I have a friend that runs a hoop camp for kids that are handicapped. And in order to fund his camp, he'll get vehicles like those. Right now, he has like 10 or so of the Chevy Bolts, all with new batteries. He'll take and resell those because then he makes enough money to help do his basketball for the handicapped children, which I thought was really cool. So I bought, and he actually shipped like 5 or 6 cars, Chevy Sparks to me before. And I had them here and I'd show them to people and let them buy them. And you know, he goes, well, yeah, can I pay you something for that? I said, no, I just love to have electric cars and get them out there. So send me all you got.
Yeah.
So kind of fun. So the only incentives we have here in Arizona now is you get to use the HOV lane. Everything else has disappeared. At one time, back when EV1 was around, they used to give people a $10,000 incentive to
Whoa.
buy or lease an EV1. You go, wow, that's just fantastic. A bunch of people in the area, like most things, learned about it. And they found out, wait, we can abuse that by buying a golf cart for $2,000. The state will give us $10,000. We can throw the golf cart away.
Ah,
So it ruined the whole incentive. And now the state is very, very touchy about having an incentive. Now, if you go to Colorado, they give a $7,000 or $8,000 incentive. California, I think, gives a $5,000 incentive. So there's other states that are doing some great things. Georgia used to give $5,000. Then overnight they did away with it and started charging $200 a year for registration, which at one time was almost free. So it's amazing how these incentives come and go. But even with the lack of incentives here, people just love electric vehicles. They're so awesome. Even here in the heat, we're going to talk about the heat a little bit later here. Now here's Chevy Bolt. I have one that's silver, but this is the same thing. Chevy Bolt is the lowest price, highest mileage, best deal of any electric vehicle you can buy.
Oh yeah, we have several Bolt owners here in the club. Yep.
Yep. So that's great because you can see what a deal it is. They list them MSRP of like 26.5, then you take 7,500 off. It's just amazing, and it's you know, a General Motors essential product. They were going to do away with it, and everybody complains. So now General Motors says, okay, we're going to make the US version and use the Ultima batteries they make here in the US. So it'll still get the full incentive. It's just a fantastic car. My friend had one with 100,000 miles on it. He was driving Uber, and he's an older guy, even older than me. So he wanted to take it out to California to turn it in and get a newer one when he stopped driving Uber. And it was during COVID time. So I said, well, I'll go out with you. Do you have a fast charge card? No, he didn't even have a card for fast charging. He'd never done it. So I have 2 or 3 different cards. So we actually used Electrify America. We found about 7 places on the way out and back to California. And we stopped at every single one. He goes, why are we stopping at all of them? We can go, you know, almost the whole way with only 1 charge. I said, yeah, we want to make sure if we need a charge on the way back or anytime, we know which ones they are. Are they good? Are they in a nice area? Do they work? And every one we tried worked, and it was all very nice neighborhoods. But we found one that was near a place to eat and shopping center. So I said, hey, on the way back, if we need to, we'll stop at this one, get something to eat. Doesn't even take any time, essentially, because you're gonna stop to eat anyway. So
Very
it works
smart
out
to
really
check 'em
good.
out. Yep.
Yep. So that's the thing a lot of people do is try and combine it with other stops. It works out fantastic. And a lot of people say Electrify America doesn't work too good. And we do have some real bad ones around our area here in Chandler and Phoenix area that sometimes maybe only 1 out of 4 or 5 will work. So they aren't the greatest, but when we tried them all the way out and back to California, it was easy, super easy. Now I have a Tesla Model Y, and I let one of my friends borrow that, and she drove all the way out by herself and back to California. And she had no problem at all because Tesla has the greatest superchargers that leads you to each one. Anybody, a 2-year-old could do it. It's just so easy. Now here's my Chevy Bolt, just showing you that I'm a hypermiler. I had 349 miles shown on here when I charge it up, and a lot of people say they get around 300 miles or more. My highest so far I've got was 404 miles on estimate, the gasometer. So, and that's, some people like to drive fast, some like to drive all different ways. I always like to drive super eco and see just how many miles I can get. So
Yeah.
it's a fun thing to do. And you'll see I got an average of 7.3 miles per kilowatt hour.
Yeah. One of the folks here in the room was just pointing that out.
Yeah, and I've had up to 8 and 9 sometimes for quite a, 100 miles or so, just by driving careful, using the regen, and still keeping up with traffic and city streets, using not highways. So it's a lot of fun. I figure with the new Aptera that's supposed to get 10 miles per kilowatt hour, oh heck, I'll be getting 15 easy. So that'll be my fun. Now, just to prove it, this is when I had the Chevy Spark, they had a company that had a little reader you could put in on your OBD2, and it would take and collect your miles for every trip and tell you how far you went, how efficient you went. And let's see if I can get my other stuff moved out of the way. Oh, guess it went back. You'll see my start change, my miles per gallon equivalent is up over 200 on almost every one of those trips.
Fantastic.
And some people go, how efficient is an electric car? I said, well, if you adjust the nut behind the wheel, it can be super efficient. And again, I'll get well over 200 miles per gallon equivalent. And same thing with the Bolt. It's just such an efficient vehicle. And here was when I picked up a Model 3, which we had for a while. It was pretty nice, pretty efficient, but not near as efficient as the Volt or the Spark. It's a little bigger car. But on highways, unbelievable, very efficient. And then after we got this, it was the back of them is kind of small, doesn't open up like a hatch like we thought. So we had to move up to a Model Y. So you see later on, I got a Model Y. Here was a little write-up about all the different chargers. We have loads and loads, about 500 charging spots here in the area of the greater Phoenix location. So I've almost gone no place where I can't find a charger somewhere. And a whole bunch of them are actually free. So that's not something you find every place, but like Whole Foods, they'll have some chargers usually that are free, and they're usually Volta. Now, when Volta first came to our area, I'm not sure if they have them out in Texas yet.
We do have Volta, and we have some free ones, at least over by Baybrook Mall. So I don't know.
Beautiful. Because their whole premise is they put ads on the charger and let you charge for free. So when
Where are you guys located? Hi, Richard here.
Yeah, Richard. So the one that I mentioned is the free Volta at the Baybrook Mall. And what were you saying, Seth? There's one.
Where are you located, Jim?
I'm in the Chandler area.
He's in Arizona. So that's why I was
Arizona.
trying to answer more about Houston related for you, Richard. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm in Sugar Land. We have a 2017 Bolt, B-O-L-T.
Yeah.
And during a trip to excuse me, San Antonio, we discovered that, okay, what dealer was it? Oh, I pictured it on the map, and I think it was Buick dealer in the northeast side of town has a fast charger, let you use, no charge.
all right. Now, is it really fast? Does it do 50 kilowatt or more?
It does as fast as the Bolt will take it.
Oh, okay. It's around 50 kilowatt, 55. A lot of dealers that I go to have a fast charger, but they turn it down to like 20 kilowatt, which is, I'm not complaining.
Oh, dealers.
Yeah, we experienced that problem at a BMW dealer south of Austin.
Yeah.
South of Austin, yeah.
So you got to be careful of that, but it's pretty good still. Even 20 kilowatt is great when you're getting a free charge. And there's more and more things like that. I think it was Electrify America. Every holiday, they used to have free charging for a day or two over the holiday, like July 4th, Christmas. So all of a sudden, if you hadn't used Electrify America, that's a great time to try. You just plug in, you don't have to do a thing. It starts up, and there you go.
Yeah, good time to try it.
Well, yep. As you know, the inconsistencies of all kinds are a real play.
It's tough. And now again, we're talking about the heat. A lot of people, even in Teslas, have found out when it's real, real hot, like over 110 like we get, you go to plug in and charge. And a lot of cars, one of my friends had a Porsche Taycan he had rented. It wouldn't even charge. It was so hot. And the battery got hot. It didn't cool itself very good. It took about a half hour before it started charging at 6 or 10 kilowatt. He was so upset. He goes, I can't believe it. Porsche's supercar, you go to do it on a public charger and it's too hot.
Yeah, you guys in Arizona are like living on Mars, not Mars, Mercury.
Yep, Mercury.
A different planet.
But the big secret is when you drive a Tesla and you tell it where you're going, when you get there, it's already preconditioned the battery to cool it or heat it, depending on winter or summer, and you get a really good, quite fast charge, even in the heat. I'm like, that to me is just amazing. And that's the only vehicle I know that does that automatically. I've heard Lucid and some other ones have something you got to actually like push a button or activate something to make it precondition the battery. But that's a great feature. Again, every car should have it. And once you get to the charger, a few Tesla chargers and other ones have like the new one they just put in Dateland, which is right over near California between there and Arizona. has a mega battery for a battery to allow for the peak time of day and all that. And they have solar panels over every single one of the 40 fast superchargers. And I think I'd love to make that a rule here in Arizona. Hey, wherever you're gonna go, you gotta have shade, preferably solar panels. If you don't even bother charging, even slow charging. When you're in the sun, it's vicious.
In the Tesla, while you're charging, can you sit in the car and run the air conditioning?
Yes, you can. And it's quite efficient, so you're not killing it. Not like my little Chevy Spark. I tried that once to be charging while we were plugged in. The charging is only 3.3 kilowatt, and the air conditioning is taking about 3. So you're getting like nothing sitting there all day.
Wow.
Boy, this stinks. Or if you did a 120 charge, you better not try to even hold the door open with a little LED light on. It's just terrible. So some cars have allowed for it. Other ones go, oh, yeah, I guess we should cover the heat. Again, everybody probably knows the Nissan Leaf was the only car you could get back in 2011. A bunch of us got them. Every one of those here in the area died 10 times faster, lost battery capacity because there's no battery thermal management in a Nissan Leaf.
Right.
12 years later today, if you buy one, you still have no thermal management of the battery. It's embarrassing. Now the Aria that they just came out with has liquid cooling and battery cooling. So I'm like, okay, that should be better, but I still don't want to play that game. I went through 2 of those Leafs. It was so bad, I documented all the problems. They actually bought it back from me after 2 years because it was losing energy so fast, and gave me all my money back completely 100% after 2 years. I said, okay, I'll lease one this time. You say you improved it with your new Lizard battery. That was a nickname we gave it because it's supposed to be able to take the heat. It's still horrible. And I turned that one in early after a year and had leased it for 2. Some vehicles are terrible for the heat. We had a Kia Soul EV. 20 people in the Phoenix area had one. Every single one of them lost like 50 to 100 miles overnight when the heat got to the battery. Just terrible. Ours, 2 times when my wife was driving it, the controller overheated and the whole car shut down in the middle of traffic. And she calls me, what do I do? The whole car stopped. I said, well, turn it off. Now turn it back on. Hopefully it resets. And then she had enough to get off the side of the road. I'm like, boy, that's a hazard. I opened a traffic safety alert on that, and no one ever did anything. Now, I think the newer Kias and Hyundais have liquid cooling, but the original ones, it was just terrible. The heat, certain cars, the heat is just terrible. Now, here's a picture of our Model Y. And as everybody knows, that's the most popular car of any type, not just electric, in the entire world. I'm like, wow, that is saying a lot. Because again, with that hatch, you can fit things in the back. We've carried even a refrigerator in the back, all sorts of things. And this was out in Fort Payne, Alabama, where the city actually sponsors this fast charger that goes up to 50 kilowatt. And it's a EVgo one that actually can combine both ports. If only one person is there, it will combine both ports and give you even higher than 50 kilowatt. So
Really?
it's pretty neat. Oh, someone had a question?
I just said really, but
Oh, okay. Yep.
since you mentioned questions, I did want to tell folks online that you can put your questions in the chat and we'll get to them at the very end.
Ah, good idea. Yep. Or whenever. Yeah, I do see the chat lit up with 2 things. So I used this one when we were out there. We went out to see the world's famous Alabama group, the most popular country group in the whole world, I think. And they're actually from Fort Payne, a little town, Alabama, Fort Payne, Alabama. At their fairgrounds, they had a big concert. It was sold out. It was just beautiful. And of course, we went and had our Tesla, and It's way out near Nashville. We actually leased that Tesla from the Hertz rental people, and it was amazing. It ran and was perfect. You just got to return it with 70% charge, or they'll bill you for charging it, whatever. And it got over 300-mile range, which our personal one is only a little bit under that. So really a very good rental car, and it was the same price or cheaper than almost any one of their other rentals. So
Really cheaper, because I was thinking those big companies like Hertz were charging more. Because I've mentioned to a number of people, if you're familiar with Turo, Turo.com, that you can people can experience an electric vehicle by renting that way
yeah,
or buying.
I used to lease my Model 3 on Turo just because there was none around and people wanted to see what it was like. So here, check it out. But even on that, usually we're
Hey.
trying to charge a little more. The rental car company was only like $30 a day or something like that, which I just thought was awesome. And when you go to assess a charger, you just plug in like always, and boom, it automatically starts to get charged, and it goes automatically to have it flip to your credit card.
Yeah, hang on a
Oh.
second, Jim. Give the mic to Seth here.
So the trick on Hertz, they have so many EVs in their fleet now.
Yep.
If you reserve a manager's choice, about 7 times out of 10, you'll get an EV
All right.
because that's the car they have lots of on the lot. If you
Yeah, they wanna
reserve an
use
EV, we'll charge you more than a regular car. But if you reserve a manager's choice, which is usually the least expensive reservation you make,
Yep.
really good odds of getting stuck with an EV.
Good idea. That's worth it. And I've heard they have 2 or 3 different versions of vehicles, Kias and whatever, but almost everybody that brings them back, they said, everybody complains. They go, the charging on this is horrible. We can never find a charger. Half of them don't work. So the other vehicles that don't use Tesla charging, supercharging, were very difficult. Whereas this, with the menu, you just hit a button and there they come up. You pick the one you want. You can see how busy it is, and you go right to it. It's just so amazing. As you know, Tesla's supercharging is just nothing's even close. It's so good.
Well, of course, we've talked here in our club meetings about the other manufacturers now wanting to access and making deals with Tesla so that people can use the superchargers, because folks do like traveling. And if these other manufacturers have decided they're going to join forces.
Yeah, and almost everyone has, which is great. I just think that's the best thing. All get united on the one connector. And even if they put in their own type of charger, if they have the NACS, North American charging standard, it's just fantastic.
Okay. I see you have a comment here. Watch for dog.
Yep. Well, again, that's on PlugShare. I use PlugShare all the time. Some days I've actually added 5 different charging sites that were invisible and not on the map. And I'll add them in and I'll put a note, like if it is someplace that has a dog next door that comes up and barks at you, you put those remarks. Even Tesla chargers doesn't have those kind of remarks from real users that said, hey, I just used that 5 minutes ago and it's not working. You can't find that on anybody else's site except for PlugShare.
PlugShare. Okay.
And they include every charger in the world, whether it's a Rivian, a Tesla, anything in the world, they put them on their site. So, and the best part about PlugShare too, since I'm Mr. Economy, I always look for one that's free. You can actually sort and say, all I want to do is see the free Voltas, other ones that cities have. I have like 10 free chargers within a mile of my house. I'd never know that it wasn't for PlugShare, and you can search by free chargers and bingo, you just go and say, wow, this is fantastic.
My experience with PlugShare is that it doesn't always show all the chargers. I use, before I plan a long trip, I probably use 2 or 3 other sites.
Sure, I use other apps just to make sure I don't miss something. But if I
Yeah.
see one like a plug share that doesn't show a charge point that doesn't show a charge point, I'll add it to plug share. It lets me add it with notes, pictures. And like I said, I've added up to 5 sites in one day, just as for fun to add them, make sure they're there.
Yeah, I've done that too with one in Seguin, Texas.
All right.
And the first couple times I used it, I guess it was so new, it was free. But after that, not so much.
Yeah, and if they are free, you tell that, or if they change, we've got a bunch of them here that only charge 20 cents a kilowatt. That's almost like free. That's a really good deal. Other ones that I've seen charge up to $1 a kilowatt. So I'll warn people on PlugShare, hey, by the way, it's a nice charger. If you're really desperate, it's worth it, but they charge $1 a kilowatt. And they think they're doing us a favor.
That's pretty high price, $1 per kilowatt hour. Yeah.
It's the highest I've seen. And I like to use this all the time, every place I go. Even when we're traveling, I love to look at PlugShare and compare it to all the other ones. I keep all the apps on my phone so I can see like, hey, ChargePoint shows there's 5 here and PlugShare doesn't have any. Guess what? I'm going to add them to PlugShare along with notes. And then there's your picture of our area showing a whole bunch of PlugShares.
If I have one kind of a complaint about PlugShare, besides not having everything, but things change so quickly, that's understandable.
Yeah.
That trying to use it on my cell phone is so much more difficult than on the computer. Yet each one has its shortcomings.
Yeah. And I have pretty good luck on my Android phone. I can seem to pull them up and click on any one and get the details. So I find it's very helpful. Even I've helped some people using Teslas, like up in Flagstaff. There's 2 sets of Tesla superchargers, one in the lower parking lot, one in the upper one. And my friend that used to go there never even knew there was another set of them. That's like 10 or 12 more. He'd always go to the first one at the bottom of the hill. And I said, here, look at PlugShare, compare that. And it says, hey, if you get busier, you got to wait, go up the hill, and there it is, another 10 chargers. He goes, you're kidding. He goes, why doesn't Tesla tell you? I said, I don't know. I can't speak for these other guys, but PlugShare, we try to put any notes like that, free charging, a handle that sticks, anything like that. We put the note in there, and then people know about it. And a lot of times, if you look through chargers, even some out in Texas, you might see my name on it. Oh, Jim Stack says this one's a good one. It's free.
Yeah, we'll look for that. But yeah, those little notes are sometimes really important because sometimes someone will drive around a building just to try to find which side of the building, they know they're close, but you can waste time just trying to find exactly where someplace is to charge.
Yep.
Yeah, that happened to us at that dealer in San Antonio. We drove into the parking lot and it PlugShare, I believe, talked about, okay, there's a charger on this side of the building, blah, 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 and it was blocked. And we asked a mechanic who wandered out, this was on a Saturday. He said, oh, we shut that down long ago and we're going to get it removed, and kind of drove away. And then I got to thinking, no, it's still talking about a fast charger. So I went back. And turned out you drive on the other side of the building.
There you are.
Go through a gated area, and there it is.
Yeah,
The nice thing about PlugShare notes, and what I'll do when I'm traveling is I'll look at the next stop where I'm looking and see, have people been having success? People been saying that one of the chargers is down, or which charger is delivering the best power?
Yep.
I frequently make a trip to Austin and I stop at a place called Snappy's, and invariably most trips, one of the 4 is down, and it's like never the same one. So knowing in advance which one is down, you'll pull in, you'll see 2 people plugged in and 1 car and 2 open, and you'll know which of the open ones to pull in. And then the next guy gets stuck with the one that's not working.
There you go. That's worth it. And PlugShare is the only site I've seen that tells you that kind of thing. There's other apps that you can use that tell you some information. Some don't even give you the name of the site. So PlugShare just seems to be the name, information, the last person that stopped. Just great stuff that I can't find anyplace else. And then with the heat recently, here's a picture of the J1772, which I think is one of the most amazing plugs ever designed because it's so safe. Those two little safety pins that tell it the car is connected or not. A little kid could actually come up and touch or put their tongue on there and not get hurt because it only puts out 12 volts low voltage until it gets continuity and connections, and then it turns up the power. So it's just an amazing, great connector. The Tesla one is even better, but this, for the meantime, having this plug over the old paddle and some of the other Avcon connectors, this was just a beautiful design that I think people did a real good job on because it works, what I think, very safe and very secure and seems quite reliable. And then of course you get to the Chatamo, big monster Chatamo there on the left. That thing is just like a horse. Some women go to use it and they don't even like using it. It's just so big. And then the CCS combined is pretty much like a J1772 with a couple extra pins for the higher power, and seems to work and pretty reliable. So, and then of course now we're going on to Tesla or the NACS, but just neat how we're going through all these different connectors and driving everybody crazy. There's our NACS that does AC, DC, low power, high power, you name it, it can handle it. And I'm pretty sure they're all the way up to 250 kilowatt on the newer superchargers. And they say they're going to be able to use the same one for some of the new 800 volt, 350 or higher charging. So just amazing how we keep improving, and then having that, hoping for a standard for almost every vehicle. That's just going to really make life simpler for a lot of people. And of course, when you pull up the chargers for superchargers, there's so many from Tesla, and it's all over the world, even in Canada and down in Mexico, you'll see Tesla chargers popping up all over. Great stuff, and more in progress. So kind of fun looking at those and seeing it. And then of course, as I said before, the biggest thing in all this is the batteries. So now you're getting all these newer batteries that Tesla has come up with. And then we got some of these other solid state and other things, other materials. It's just, you just couldn't ask for anything better, because that's the best thing of all electric vehicles is getting a good, reliable, safe battery. The newest Tesla battery, now they're calling the 1,000,000-mile battery, because it'll last longer than your car, which is just awesome. And then you look at the Powerwall for home, the mega battery for power companies. Those are the actual same cells that they use in the car, and they can mass produce them and you configure them for these bigger, helping the grid, helping your home. It's just like, wow, how could that ever happen? It's just, to me, one of the most exciting things I could ever see happening. And of course, Tesla took and software talked to all the batteries in Southern California that are being used for home power walls, and use them to be a virtual power plant, VPP, putting power out to the grid and keeping the grid from brownouts and failures. To be able to do that is just awesome. And right now, in your home state, Texas, are signing up lots and lots of people to use their battery system from their homes to help the grid there be more balanced and more reliable. And when they do that, and you give up just a couple, maybe 4 or 5 kilowatt hours, you're getting paid sometimes $2 or more a kilowatt hour.
Well, Jim, we actually have another Jim on the screen here as well. Jim Thompson there just waved his hand.
All
And
right.
yeah, he's talked to us, and it's great to hear the things going on with batteries and what you can do from your home now.
Awesome.
So yeah, maybe at a future time we'll get you two guys and myself or something talking as well. Because that would be a great thing to do. But yeah, keep going, please.
Okay, yeah, and I mentioned those. I'm hoping you got experts or people working in these fields, because to me, this is just mind blowing. When I've worked in power companies for telephone systems where they all have battery backup and cell sites with batteries, these kind of things are just blowing everything away. Just Tesla is actually going to become the biggest power company in the world just through these virtual power plants without actually having a single power plant or a single generation point, just by combining all these existing batteries and making them do more than one thing. To me, that's just like visionary. You couldn't ask for anything better. And like out in Hawaii, where they wanted to keep adding more and more solar, and they didn't have enough capacity in the grid and enough storage. By adding more storage, same thing with Australia. Now they can add as much renewable energy as they want. We've got some places in Norway and whatever that are going to 100% renewable, all because they've got the battery built into the network. It's just like things you couldn't even imagine 10 years ago. Or I used to work at the phone company, and Bell Labs are actually the people that came up with the solar cells and solar panels. And the people at Bell Labs, I'm sure, would never dream of these things that you can do with solar and batteries and wind. It's just totally amazing. And Texas is the biggest producer of wind energy in the entire United States.
Yep.
Like, that is just something to be so proud of. They were the biggest producer of oil for years, and now they're actually transitioning, and just things that are, to me, unbelievable. And of course, everybody's a science student and goes to the periodic table. If you look on there and you see way up on the top left, hydrogen is #1, but lithium is #3. I mean, you look at some of these materials, and the higher and the lower the number is real lightweight. And you compare that to lead, which is heavy, toxic. Lead's been known as one of the worst pollutants. I mean, we took it out of gas, we took it out of paint, and yet we still have it in vehicles, some vehicles. Now, I don't know if anybody has seen or can see this battery I'm holding up.
Yeah, we see it.
My friend and I actually developed and invented that battery. That's a lithium 12-volt starter battery. And that's the weakest point of any Tesla and a lot of other electric vehicles. A lot of times their 12-volt battery will fail within 1 year, and getting to it and changing it is very awkward. So we came up with this lithium one, and we sell those for Teslas to begin with, but now we sell them for almost every electric car. Of course, I have them in both my electric cars, my Bolt and my Model Y, because they last 4 to 8 times longer. They weigh half as much, and they're non-toxic. They're a lithium battery that can be recycled 98%. So
What's
Yeah.
the cost?
It's,
What's the cost? What's the cost?
Oh, the cost of these, I think it's right around $350 or so. My friend is always changing around with the price. So it seems kind of expensive, but then when you look how long it lasts, compared to a lead acid, that's maybe 150, I think is what Tesla usually charges, or sometimes they cover them under their warranty.
Yeah, we replaced ours about a year ago, and it was about 200.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so you can get different price points depending on which one you buy, which model it is, and everything. But something like this is so cool. What was really neat is the people at Tesla actually called my friend and said, "Hey, we heard about your lithium battery. Can we check it out?" So they checked it out and said, "We want to buy 10,000 a month. Can you supply them?" My friend, we're going like, what? We're just a little company. We just have these made up small cases, small amounts at a time. But, and Elon heard about it, we heard, he says, it's about time. How come you guys didn't do that? He's yelling at his own Tesla people. Get your act together there. So they went to their own suppliers. We told them how we did this with 18650 battery cells and put in, you know, a few extra and balance them and all this. And so they make their own now and they put them in the, I think it's, they do it in both the 3, or no, the 3 and the Y, I guess they haven't done yet. They're getting ready to. They do it in the X and the S because there are few of those vehicles, but they're starting to put in lithium battery. And of course, they wanted to change it from the way we did, so you aren't stealing our idea, even though they did. So they made theirs higher voltage. Ours we made plug and play. You just put it in, it can handle higher or lower, no problem. Put it in and just drive. So their new one, I think, instead of being 12 to 13 volts or something, it's like 15 or 16 volts. But hey, we're just glad. My friend, I said, did you get a right to use it? They're going to pay you? He's like, oh, I didn't think of that. I'm like, you didn't think of that? I couldn't believe it. We were just so happy to see that they were finally getting rid of the lead acid battery that they've had from day one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they just started with the Model Ys also having the 12-volt lithium.
Yeah. Hopefully they're going to do every vehicle. But yeah, they had to start with what even they could keep up the supply.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, we're getting there, but I said, it would have been so nice to get like $1 right to use for our idea. And with all the millions that they sell, that would have been it. We'd never have to even think of investing again. We'd go out and buy new Tesla Roadsters and maybe get one for every day of the week. But anyway, it's kind of neat when we did that, and people still buy them from us and ship them all over the country because everybody sees the advantages of having a non-toxic battery, which is the biggest thing I like. And then the fact it's lighter, easier to work with. I mean, you go to put it in on a Model S, you go to lift your battery in there, and it's this awkward little slot that you got to put it in. Very awkward. So, and so far, these have held up unbelievable, even longer than we predicted on some of the first cars that we put them into. The first ones that I put it into, I had a Model S that I had previously sold, and it's still going around with the same original battery in it. So, pretty neat.
You would think Tesla could make their own 12-volt out of their lithium cells.
Yeah, in fact, that's what we did. So that's what they were going to do. But they have suppliers that put them together for them. They don't have time. They're so busy with their new 4680 battery that they were trying to get that up to speed. And then, of course, everybody knows the numbers on them, and they're named for the size in millimeters of the batteries. And you'll find those batteries again in laptops, everything. One of my greatest claims to fame is I got the people that made the lithium powered vehicles out in California, the very first ones. We had a big solar event here, and I called up to ask if they could drive out in the T0. They had a lithium powered T0 vehicle, and that's the one that inspired Tesla and everybody to make vehicles. So I called up and I talked to Tom Gage, who was the president then, said, hey, can you come out for our Soul Fest we're having here in Scottsdale? He goes, yeah, sure, we can. When's your date again? And it turned out to be a perfect date. He goes, yeah, I got relatives out there. I'll drive out. I said, drive out. You're going to come all this way from California? This is back in the early days, like 2004 or something, I think it was, when they first came up with the lithium-powered T0. So he drove out and gave a talk and told everybody about it. And I would have thought that every car maker and every auto production person in the world would have jumped all over it. But people are just like, yeah, no big deal. And it was just amazing. It even had vehicle to grid, all that built into it. Variable regenerative braking right on the dash. It was just an amazing vehicle. So, and when he got here, it was late in the evening. I said, "Oh, you got to go charge?" He goes, "No, I still got like 70 miles left. You want to go for a ride?" So we went for a ride. I got to ride in the T0 with the lithium batteries.
All
which,
right.
like only one of 3 in the world that exist. Now, Gruber Motors, I don't know if you heard of them. They're out here in North Phoenix. They repair the Tesla Roadsters. They're one of the few in the world that if your battery pack gets bricked, they pull it apart, pull out the one bad battery that's killing it, cut it out of there, and then recharge everything, and you drive away with a battery that's still good. They've got some that are 13 or 14 years old now, and they're still running great. They just found 3 of them in shipping containers in China that never got opened. The guy that bought them for like 2.5 million is shipping them. They're going to be here tomorrow at Gruber Motors in North Phoenix. They're going to open them up, see if the shorting plug was pulled out to keep the battery from going dead. And if so, they're thinking those might actually have batteries that still work after 14 years or whatever of being sitting in a shipping container and never moved.
I saw that article about them. So those are going to end up in North Phoenix, those 3 cars?
At Gruber Motors, they repair almost every Roadster. They even have Tesla send them some Roadsters to repair because they refurbished the PEM, power electronics module, with new transistors and power and all that kind of stuff. They do things that Tesla doesn't even dream of doing, and they've made a business on it. And they usually have about 30 or 40 Teslas sitting in their showroom that they're working on, that they just fixed. And then they're getting these from China. The guy that bought them said, "I know where to send them. Send them to Gruber. They'll know how to check them out, refurbish them, have them ready to roll." So they're gonna should appear tomorrow. So we have exciting companies here locally.
Yeah.
On one of our we have a 100-mile rally that we do every year. In fact, I won it. You got to be on time, 100 miles, not 105, not using them, being the most efficient, things like that. And one year we did it, and we actually stopped at Gruber Motors as part of our thing. And almost half the people just hung around to watch. They wanted to see everything about they work on both the Model S, the X, and mainly the Roadster. But now they're starting to see more and more of the other vehicles come off a warranty, or someone will buy one that Tesla won't work on that was in an accident, and then they'll get it fixed there and drive away with a Tesla. So pretty exciting having these kind of companies right in our area.
Absolutely.
And those essentially new Teslas, 14 years old, are just going to be awesome when they open it up and see exactly what they have. They just got them shipped back from China, and they've been in California now for a day or 2, and then they're shipping out first thing tomorrow in the morning, and they should be here by noon. So again, just amazing stuff happening. Let's see.
Yeah, hopefully it'll hit the news how the condition of them is, since it already hit the news that those 3 cars were discovered in the container.
Yep. Yeah, so it's made the price of every Roadster go up a bit. Everybody's now more aware of them, going, "Hey, these are collector items."
So who were they originally intended for?
A company in China bought them to take them apart and reverse engineer them. And of the 3, they took one apart, and they can't find a few of the parts. So that was what they're intended for. The other 2, the company went out of business before they opened them, and they just sat there all these years till someone said, "Hey, how come these are still sitting here?" And they found out what's in there. They're Tesla Roadsters. And bingo, everything woke up from there. They had auctions, and they quickly went up over $1 million to 2.5, I think, to have vehicles that are this rare and this unique. So, and they have a blogcast that's on every Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, and Thursday morning. Wednesdays it's for Roadsters. Tuesday and Thursday it's for all other electric vehicles. And they talk to people from all over the world that write in questions. kind of like a click and clack they used to have asking about vehicles, and they do it about electric vehicles.
Yeah, I remember Click and Clack.
Yep. So if you watch now on YouTube, you look up Gruber Motors, and every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock, Wednesday and Thursday, they have these 1 to 2 hour podcasts. They had a guy today that just bought 100 acres out in Hawaii, moved out of California. He owns like 4 Teslas. He's got 2 Cybertrucks, and he's trying to do organic gardening to feed a lot of the people there in, or no, let's see, he went to Puerto Rico. And he said he found out they import 70% of their food, and Puerto Rico should be a great place to grow it. All they do is monocrops of coffee. He says, I'm going to go out and show them how they could do all sorts of things. So, and again, there's some of these Tesla owners that are just visionaries, come up with great ideas. There was one person that we met at a Tesla Connect meeting when we went out to the grand opening of the Gigafactory making the 2170 batteries. They said, we'll be making them so fast it'll look like you won't even be able to tell going across. But we went out there, and one of the ladies that went to that event and was telling about different projects they're doing, she transplants lungs. She's a doctor, transplants lungs into people, which everybody said was impossible. She's been doing it, and she wanted to come up with an electric helicopter because they're delivering these lungs to different hospitals within 10 miles of their research center. So nobody could come up with it. Even Tesla said we're too busy. So they designed their own, and then they wouldn't let them test it in California. So they bought their own airport. So now they could test it in their own airport. Now they have them legal, and they use them for lung deliveries for transplants. And I'm just like, where do these Tesla people come from? I'm just blown away. They're doing, we thought we did big thing, come up with a 12-volt battery that was lithium. We're like, why didn't Tesla do that years ago? But these other people are doing these projects that you just can't imagine when you hear what they're doing. Just really awesome stuff. And now we're talking about charging and everything in the heat. We found out so far that the Tesla and the Bolt seem to hold up the best in the heat. The Bolt has a very good cooling system. It'll even go active when the car is not plugged in. Most cars don't have an active cooling system that works when the car is not being charged or isn't plugged in. So that seems to be best. But some of these other cars are definitely having, like my friend's Porsche Taycan, that overheated, and he had to sit and wait for an hour or two before he could get out to Las Vegas, just making a trip between there and our area here at Phoenix. So some cars are still learning about how do you handle the heat, how do you precondition, and if it uses some air conditioning, what's a better choice, to have a long life battery that cools itself, or have a car that dies and you got to try and come up with a new battery. Pretty good. And then we also have a lot of self-driving. You probably heard we're one of the test sites for self-driving in the whole United States. So every day I see Waymo vehicles, the Jaguar pure electric, the Chrysler plug-in minivan, those are some, and the Chevy Bolt are all used for plug-in for self-driving with Waymo. We also have Cruise Automation, who used to be a separate company. I actually applied for a job with them. They're all set to hire me. I went up there to interview with them, and they could say, hey, wait a minute, you're an old guy. I'm like, excuse me, what'd you say? They can't say that. Because I was older before that. They go, what, you've driven electrics? You own a Spark? That's what we use. So they were just thrilled to have me come up, and then, we changed our mind. We're going to do something different. So I'm like, okay, but they're here locally. Waymo, I mean, we've got 3 or 4 different companies that do it. Here's a Volta free charger.
You mentioned Waymo. Have you yourself ridden in a Waymo driverless car?
Yep, we also went up to they had a presentation where they were giving people rides, and they were explaining the technology and giving the numbers. They're showing out of all the 1.5 million miles they put on. They had 2 accidents, and they were both cars running into them. I'm like, wow, that's like awesome numbers. So they've been doing driverless Waymos now for I think at least 6 months here in the Chandler, Phoenix area, and they seem to do quite well. We've had a few of them. They came up with a new turn left on with an arrow, and you get that in a busy intersection. They had one that was blinking to mean turn left if it's okay type thing. And when that came out, all the cars would stop and get stuck there because they're going, wait a minute, that's not in our database. We don't ever see a blinking turn on left on red or left at an intersection. So they had to quick go out and reprogram all the cars so they could handle anything new that comes up. They're
Right.
smart. Whereas Tesla says, hey, our cars are using virtual reality intelligent software, and if it sees something like that, it'll figure out what to do as fast as a person. So we're waiting to see if that's true, because I think it's called version 12. They just came out with it in Teslas. So we're waiting for some of our people locally to get it and see how it does in some of these different situations that you come up with, and even like a roundabout. With a roundabout, most self-driving cars kind of go, wait a minute, who's on first? Whereas supposedly Tesla's built in logic to tell it what to do and how to react to the other cars. So we'll see. They say they're way ahead, jumped way ahead. They've got it all ironed out. But as far as I know, only 2 cars have ever been approved to actually run without drivers. One was the new Mercedes self-driving system. I think the other one was one of the Waymos. So it's getting real tricky now for the total no driver, no intervention type thing. But we see them every day on the roads, and I'm very impressed with what I see. I would have no problem having rides in them, but it's so much fun driving my Bolt and my Model Y, always trying to see what the highest range I can get miles per kilowatt. They don't seem to do that in the self-driving cars. You can't like hit a button and go, I want to go super eco, super efficient. It's like, no, it's pretty aggressive.
Thinking of the miles here, so we have a question about the numbers on an earlier chart. You don't need the chart up anymore, but the chart that you showed, the over 200 miles per gallon equivalent. So
Yeah.
somebody in the room here asking you about your data on that, because he thought that anything over 100 and something seemed pretty far out.
Well, when I'm usually getting 7, 8, sometimes 9 miles per kilowatt hour, and a gallon of gas is equal to like 33.4 kilowatt hours, then you multiply it out and it's like, wow, I'm doing fantastic. The only thing I do better on is my bicycle, that I don't even have electric. On that, I can get over 1,000 miles per gallon equivalent. But that's because I would eat anyway and drink. So if you get those numbers, and that was actually developed by the company that gave me that OBD2 reader. They actually paid me to put it in my car for a couple of years.
Uh-huh.
I've had that before. My power company paid me to put a monitor on my inverter, because I can't believe that I'm making more energy than I need with a 4 kilowatt system. And they monitored it, and they used to pay me $15 a month to be able to monitor my system. I'm like, hey, come on, put 2 monitors on. I don't mind. Same with the car. Hey, anything you got, you want to give me to monitor and see how it's going? That'd be great.
Okay.
And in fact, there's my SRP bill, Salt River Project. They're a not-for-profit power company. Oop. We can see, oh, that was my Chevy Spark again. There's my monthly bill from them, and usually they give me a credit. You see up here in the beginning, there's a credit they owe me in the beginning of the year for all the extra I make up to the end of March or end of April. And then we start the year over, and I have there's a a line here that's called carryover. And you'll see how much kilowatt hours I have carryover, which means I've made more than I use. So if I ever need to make a little extra that I didn't make myself, I get it free to have that carryover. It
So
works out pretty
The
good.
text on your screen has gotten smaller. I think you've gotten out of a presentation mode.
Oh, yeah, I think I did. It must have. Let's see, slideshow. Some current slide. There we go. Maybe that'll help a little.
Yeah, that's easier for us to read. Thank you.
And again, you can see some of those numbers, and miles per gallon equivalent is the one that I love watching. And just seeing how many miles per kilowatt hour you can go. Because when we had a Model S Tesla, I'm like, darn, that car is so big and so heavy. I felt like I was driving a Lincoln Town Car. I couldn't get numbers anywhere near 7 or 8 or 9 miles per kilowatt hour. And that's why I'm excited about getting an Aptera. I'm one of the first 100 orders. So I'll be getting that when they start delivering. And then I can see if I can make that one go even higher.
Okay, so these 200 numbers for the MPGE is
Yep,
because it's the Chevy Spark, the smaller, lighter vehicle. Okay.
yep, that's it. And that company that makes those monitors and reads it haven't given me one for a Bolt yet, because I said I'd love to see what it comes out on the Bolt. I mean, I know I'm getting 7 and 8 miles per kilowatt hour, which is pretty close to what I was doing in the Spark. So I said, I think it'll be just as good. Here's a picture of the Leaf doing vehicle to grid. So of all the cars to do vehicle to grid with, the worst one would ever be in Arizona with the heat would be a Nissan Leaf. But that's the only one that they have that feature actually available. And it's not good for the battery, especially when your battery can't keep itself cool. Because having a cool battery, keep it from overheating, is the key to long life. So here it just tells about different power companies, where the power companies are putting in big batteries for battery storage. And this is one they put in right near Casa Grande, which is where Lucid is located. We think they did it to handle the power needs of that big electric vehicle company. So, see, and here's here's the Waymo. That's one of their Chrysler plug-in minivans that a couple of our members had those, and they can go almost 40 to 50 miles all electric, which is pretty impressive for a van. And then it's still a plug-in hybrid. And of course, the sign right next to them saying Intel. Intel is one of the biggest chip manufacturers, and they've just built some new plants right here in Chandler that are going to be multi-million-dollar plants for making computer chips. We also have Taiwan Semiconductor. They're building a new plant out near our stadium in Goodyear, Arizona. So just amazing how we have these. We have over 60 chip companies. I used to work for Flip Chip that made Bluetooth chips just to learn how to do it. And then we have about 60 companies making chips. And as you know, chips are just so in need now. That's a huge business and gonna stay that way. Intel used to have the requirement, or the thing where they show that the chips get better every year, can double in size, use half the power, all these kind of good things. And they can't believe that after all these years, it's still able to do that. It keeps getting better. So just let you know how amazing the vehicles are going to be that run with all these chips. Here is their driverless little van that they used to have in Las Vegas. I think it was AAA sponsored them, and it was all electric, of course. I never got to ride in that one yet, but now under the ground there, they have the Hyperloop by Tesla, where the Hyperloop can go up to 700 miles an hour in an airtight tube. So it uses like 1/10 the energy, all electric. So just amazing things happening. And think that's also out in Las Vegas, so they're happening around. And then I know you folks have probably done conversions too. This
Yep.
is one of my friend's conversions that we did. And we switched him over to lithium batteries. He lost over 1,000 pounds of lead acid weight.
Wow.
And I got a local company here that tests solar panels. I said, hey, when you're done with those, you ever donate any of those? They said, oh, sure. Write me up a thing and we'll give you some free solar panels. So we put solar panels on top of it so he could drive around 30, 40 miles every day without even plugging in.
All right.
And that was with lithium batteries. And his name was Mr. X or Gene Cosmano. So some people might have heard of him. He used to be a drag racer, a NASCAR racer, a sprint racer. He did all this kind of, so whenever you go for a ride with him in his vehicle, you better hang on because he's probably doing 100 miles an hour right through the city streets. And we're like, Gene, you don't have to go that fast. He goes, yeah, I just want to show people how great electrics are. We're like, okay, but take it easy. So that was his dream vehicle. He had always wanted it to be lithium and solar panels. So I got both donated and poof, we switched over. And of course, the Tesla group of cars and their famous semi-truck, which actually has been used now to deliver some of the Cybertrucks. You probably know that the Cybertruck's going to be delivered this month, probably near the end of the month. And they've seen cargo trucks going all across the US with 2 or 3 Cybertrucks on it. So I think they might do like a release of, I don't know, maybe 10 cities at one time saying, hey, we're delivering our first 100 Cybertrucks. And then the semi-truck sales are going pretty good. Last I heard, they had a backup of almost 200 orders waiting to be filled. They have a friend that's a trucker. And I said, hey, why don't we I'll order a semi-truck. I already sponsored him in his truck he's in now. So we'll get one of those and you can show how much better they are. But since they don't have the mega charging in place yet, depending on where he goes, it could be pretty difficult. And there's urban Tesla chargers, only 70 kilowatt, but they pop up in garages and places in the area. And then our famous EV1 that was here with our saguaro cactus in the background, and they all got taken back and crushed, except for a couple that went to museums with all the electronics and batteries taken out of them. So I like to say, my friend that rescued the pickup trucks, he could take every one of those and fix them up. And then we have our vehicles in parade every year. We put LED lights all over them. This is my Model 3 one year. And right behind me is a Roadster that was covered in lights. And we just have all different electric vehicles we drive in our show. And then the famous Aptera, and I'm hoping mine will be here next summer, but we'll see. You probably heard about the first time they went to make them. They got bought out by a big car company, I think it was Ford, and they immediately ruined everything, changed the design, changed just about everything in it, and kind of killed it. So the guys that came up with the idea say, someday we're going to do it again, and we're going to keep it private. We aren't going to let anybody buy us out. It's going to take them longer, and now they've done it again, and they're almost ready to come out, hopefully next year, and start deliveries.
Yeah, we have folks here in the club that have reservations too.
All right. The first 100?
I haven't heard anybody claim that, just that they have
Oh.
reservations.
Yeah, because I got in on the first 100, and I've also invested money into them a couple of times. And that every time you do that, it can move you up in the list. So I said, as long as I get it in the first year, I'll be happy. I can't wait to show people something super efficient. They say they might even have self-driving, other things in the future, but for now it's pretty good. And that back hatch opens up, and you actually have a little tent option you can put in there, and you could camp out in the thing, drive all across the country. Could be a blast. I don't know if anybody has a Porsche dealer near them. They have these big 800-volt chargers, which are also supposed to be backward compatible. So I went there one day and took a picture of my Chevy Spark plugged into the Porsche charger, but they wouldn't give me the guest card to be able to prove it actually works. I said, pretty cool, and nice that Porsche's getting into it. And then famous Cybertruck with the electric quad. I also have one of those, hoping I'm gonna be able to get. We can show what a pickup truck that can really tow. I think they're talking about a 600-mile range, and with towing, they said it might only drop it by 100 to 200 miles. Whereas most trucks, as you heard, I think you mentioned earlier, you're talking about people going to so many shows with your car. Hey, you can go with your truck now, dude. They have the Rivian, the Ford. There's a Rivian. And
Yeah, I see that, and I see that Robert Horton has his hand up. So Robert, did you have a question?
Okay, good.
If you
You
can
there, Robert?
Well, we'll get back to Robert then.
Okay, or I keep talking. Anybody just, do that. Tell me you got hand up or you need to talk, because here's some of the self-driving notes. They had Tesla Autonomy Day. They're just doing amazing things. You probably all heard about the new supercomputer that Tesla just released or put online. That's going to help. And I don't know if anybody's into stocks. I hope you own some NVIDIA. Say that for artificial intelligence, that's the #1 stock to own. Of course, Tesla too, because they're into everything. So if you're looking for investing.
I'm thinking we might want to ask folks for questions, and there's a couple of other items that we want to do here in the room before we
Okay,
8:30 local time. So
sure.
if anybody has a question in the chat or somebody has a question for Jim in the room, Kevin, let me bring the mic on over to you and you can ask Jim.
Oh, there's that mic.
Okay.
Hey, Jim, thanks for talking with us.
Sure.
Couple of things. One, your Iridium satellite system that you worked on, I use it on 777 at United, and I had a medical emergency this week, and we actually talked to our dispatcher and used it with MedLink. It worked great. So I thought you might like to hear that.
Yeah, any place on earth you can use it.
Yeah. And
yeah,
then
Rod, Dog Track. I mean, nobody covers that except for Iridium. They're awesome.
Yep. And the other question I had was, you had a bunch of solar panels on your house, but your neighbors didn't have any. What's up with that?
What can I say? I guess I live in the land of Luddites. These people that just don't get into it. The one neighbor on one side has a swimming pool that uses more energy than my whole house. And on the other side, just a lady with a little puppy, and she just she has a hybrid now, at least. So, and she's thinking the next car she gets might be electric. So I've got about 5 people that own electrics, but solar, we don't have many in our neighborhood yet.
That's interesting with you guys having so much sun out there.
Yeah, but we have a big problem. That SRP company that I'm under, they changed all the rules. I used to go and complain to them and talk to them every year at their annual meetings, and they usually were afraid to see me come. They don't want to have everybody be like me, and I haven't paid a bill in 22 years. They owe me. So they changed all the rules. They charge you now $100 a month if you add even 1 solar panel on your house. I'm like, what? How can you do that? What's that about? Oh, you're using the grid at night, and that's improper. You're making other customers pay. So they changed the rules. They put you on a time of day plan. They put you on a demand charge, and they bill you $100 a month if you add solar. Luckily, I'm on the grandfathered plan, and once that runs out, I'll probably be off grid and say, too bad. But they really killed solar here.
All right. Well, thanks for your talk. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Yeah, we even sued SRP, and they were found in a court of law to be killing solar and making these artificial, not-for-profit power company rules. And you think we could make somebody then go, okay, now that we proved it, let's make them, if they want to give net metering, how much do you charge for solar? That's what you got to pay. We can't get anybody to go to the next step and make them correct the rules. They're still ripping people off, and they killed solar in the whole area for them.
Okay.
Other power companies, Tucson Electric, TEP, APS, Arizona Public Service, they are controlled and run by the Corporation Commission. Everybody still puts in solar. It pays great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and seeing you have the Rivian up there on the screen.
Yep.
So not only a Rivian driver, but somebody who works for Rivian. He's that solid with Rivian. So yeah, a lot of dedication. We appreciate the dedication that you've shown and the other folks there in your club. And it's been fantastic hearing about all the things going there. Any final questions for Jim? Did we have anything in the chat? I think there was just the one comment. So, okay.
I saw the one comment.
Oh, Robert Horton says, does not look like my hand is up, but whatever. Okay. It looked like a hand to me, but okay.
Yeah, we got Amazon delivery trucks around here too. And every
Great.
time we have a car show, I say, maybe we can order something through Amazon and have them deliver it in one of their trucks. But we
Yeah.
haven't been able to coordinate that yet. Because that would be a big selling point for everybody to get to see. Everybody's using them. Pretty
Okay.
neat.
Well, thanks a lot, Jim. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Keep up the good work out there.
Okay. So Bill Swan, I think, stepped out. He wanted to talk for a minute, but also we've got a member back here that I'd like to give 5 minutes to, just so he can tell us what he believes in.
Yeah, I think did it cancel on your screen, so I'm not sharing? Hopefully you got your screen back?
Yes. Yeah. We're off
Good.
of the screen share. So,
Okay, wanted to make sure that. Couldn't tell from here.
okay. I'll let you introduce yourself.
All right, thanks a lot. 5 minutes is more than I usually get. Most meetings they go to, they give us a minute, and we're supposed to explain our whole platform. But if you look on the back of, if you look on the back of the cards I gave you, it shows what I think Houstonians can do to help themselves and help the city without needing the government all the time, and that the government can help us with. I won't trouble you by singing the song. I usually sing it for groups, but you can sing along at home for yourself to the Star Spangled Banner. But I'm David C. Lowy. I'm calling myself the fun candidate for mayor, but I have a feeling I should start calling myself the EV candidate for mayor. I've been driving EVs for 10 years, 2 Leafs, 2 Bolts. One got flooded in Harvey, one of the Leafs, and I know that happened to someone else here. But I really think the future, I came because I was looking forward to the autonomous talk today, but I'll come back for that. I really think that's the future. I mean, for all of us, because getting over here is such a challenge from Southwest Houston because there are inevitable problems on the roads. People make mistakes, and that's going to happen. But it's basically bogging down our entire transportation system, which is primarily cars at the moment. And I don't think, you know, that can last because more people are coming here, and it's not safe to rely on human beings to drive cars anymore. And 30,000 people die every year in the United States. It's not a war. It's not a disease. Slowing down a little bit. I mean, I wasn't the most responsible driver trying to get over here on time. And that's what we do when we're late. We don't leave on time. We don't start on time. If all of us just backed up a little bit and slowed down some, if I did the same thing, we'd have a better chance of surviving the roads. But I think autonomous cars are going to make that much easier, much better. Yeah. Well, but yeah, But mine, as you all know, the EVs are so powerful, it tempts me to go as fast as I can. I put it into sport mode when I need to get into another lane and cars are next to me and it's no problem, but that's not the safest way to drive. So I'm not going to be mayor. I know that. We have two front runners. One of them never shows up for meetings because he's busy in the impeachment trial in Austin. That's understandable, but he's considered the front runner, John Whitmire. I don't fault him for that. I've met Sheila Jackson Lee, very nice to me, supportive of what I'm doing. I'm not just making jokes. This isn't the first time that I've run for mayor. I ran in 1981 when I was 27 years old. I was the sense of humor candidate then. It was well received. Kathy Whitmire won then and went on to 5 terms. She changed her campaigning style when she saw that people responded very well to what I was doing. She lightened up, put some jokes into her presentations, and was successful. She thanked me personally for her having learned from me. But now I'm not the sense of humor candidate. I've matured some. I'm almost 70. It was 42 years ago. If I do it every 42 years, next time I'll be 112. So wish me luck. But in my family, not everybody is supporting my run for mayor. My daughter says she's going to vote for Sheila, but my wife says that she'll probably vote for me. So thanks for listening to me. Along at home is Star Spangled Banner. And no, EVs are here to stay.
Yep.
And once the prices drop, it's going to be everywhere. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. And I like, yeah. I like how you have drive electric right there on the back of your card. Yeah.
Well, drive better,
Mhm.
fly, be a hero.
Mhm. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
5 messages up there saying, slow down, it's not a race, leave some space. That's great.
That's right. Yeah. Those.
And be a hero to it. I think it will appeal to a lot of people.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Bill, you had something you want to come up here and show?
I've been putting these on public site, anybody visit one. And if anybody wants one, take it, and it's just advertisement for this club, this meeting. The other thing, good news, you may have, I may have indicated that I had a onboard charger go bad. Ask you about that. I got real lucky. I found a scrapyard in Houston. How much? $150. It was on a car. They removed it free of charge, and it worked. And I was so happy because they're going for $800 to $1,000 on eBay. Well, I can tell anyone where the car is in case they need a part. Anyway, so if anybody would like one of these, take it. Thank you.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. So we've covered a lot of territory here this evening. For anyone who missed my comment at the beginning, so we're going to ask Jack Brown to see what month he might be available to talk about autonomous vehicles. And so for folks that specifically wanted to hear that talk, I know that he's gotten tied up with things because I've had him scheduled and postponed a couple of times since I met him in January. And so that was out at the Aptera location in Carlsbad, California, where I met Jack. But we'll get him scheduled. So next month we've got Kevin scheduled, and then if he remembers, it was over a month ago that we set October for you. And then in November we've got Chris Tomlinson. So any folks that look in the Houston Chronicle and know about his column, he's often making a lot of sense in his commentary. And so we'll have him in November. And then in December, we'll have our social. So until then, if there's no other comments or questions or whatever, then as some folks may see on my emails, I usually sign them off with Drive Electric. So more and more folks are. we're hearing about more manufacturing going in around the world and different political discussions and such, but it's growing. Yeah, Kevin,
You
something
want me
to,
to talk about my wall box, Pulsar Plus?
yeah, with the microphone there. Yeah.
Okay.
How
How
about
about that microphone?
Yeah.
Do you guys know about wall box? The Pulsar Plus is a EVSC that you can network to a meter, which senses if your house is exporting or importing. And so if it's exporting by a certain margin, it will then allow your car to charge. And if it's not exporting by that margin, then it will stop the car from charging. So you can charge your EV on solar only. And so I've got mine working. The margin on green only is quite high. It's about 2,000 watts, which really limits because of the cloudy skies. It shuts off, and then it's got to be exporting by more than 2,000 watts for. It's actually not watts. It's I think 6 amps. It's got to be going more than 6 amps excess for I think 2 minutes, and then it starts putting the car on. But then it has a green plus grid mode called Eco, which the margin is much smaller. So that one works pretty good. It's about half the amperage. So that company, Wallbox, is coming out. They've had this product called Quasar, which is they sold in Europe a little bit, and the Quasar 1 was had a CHAdeMO connector to it, and they only worked with 2013 Leaf or newer. But at the end of this year, they're coming out with their Quasar 2 here in the US. It's going to be CCS capable, and it's going to have a capability to move up to 11.2 kilowatts. And with that, it's bidirectional. And I don't have all the details yet, but obviously you'll be able to charge the EV with excess solar like the Pulsar does, but then at night you'll be able to power the home with the EV. So it's doing kind of what the Tesla Powerwall does. So I don't know the extent of the EVs. I do know that it's going to do it through the CCS. So it would have to be an EV that has CCS, like the Bolt. And as far as which Bolt, I have not heard a restriction on that. But maybe I'll do a presentation on it when they come out with the specs.
You can't get a Quasar in the States.
You cannot get a Quasar 1 here in the States.
Because I also have.
Yeah.
I would love to get a Quasar 1.
Yeah.
The bidirectional on CCS is a relatively new part of the spec, so it does need to be a pretty recent one. I don't think the Bolt's got that baked in yet. But I know the F-150 does, the Rivians have it available. Hardware wise, software, I think they still need to add it. The Volkswagens do. I don't think Hyundai and Kia do yet. Polestar does, yeah. So it varies. It's not like everyone with a CCS port. Yeah, and I would bet, I don't think I haven't seen it, but I would bet the newer Chevy EVs will have it too, but that's an open question.
Because it is just a software change.
Yeah, really, and it needs to be able to close the contactors to the battery and everything with power flowing the wrong way. So there may be hardware limitations where like it has a detection system to prevent power from flowing the wrong way out of the battery. So Because that's piping AC power back on the AC pins, and that's a different feature than this, where it's piping DC power back out the DC pins. So different connection.
I think we're gonna get Jason to do the presentation on Quasar 2. Oh, and I bought it. Let's see, what did I pay? I paid 400 for the wall box and 130 for the meter.
You mean you got a special, not the electric meter?
No, it's but I gotta say this name because I love it. The company that makes this meter that Wallbox uses is is it Carlo or Paolo? Paolo Gravazzi. I mean, you know, this guy, I mean, what a name. Anyways, it's that meter, and it's set up, the software is set up so that they talk to each other. I have to tell you, it took me a couple of weeks with Wallbox to get it all working, because their instruction I did, and I followed their instructions, but they had to show me how to go into the meter and turn on some features and shut off. Yeah. But their user support was excellent. They once you called them, they were very, very helpful. Anyways, that's it.
Kevin, where does the meter live? That would help me understand what it does.
You wired into a 240 breaker. So it has a 240 breaker that measures both mains. So it has, well, it measures it's got two things. One is it's powered by both sides of the panel, right, through a 240 breaker, and it has two sensors that sit on the mains, and they measure the current flow. They measure the amps and the direction, and then it's measuring the voltage through and the only other fun thing is that we got a Y this month, so I can tow my glider trailer legally, because the Bolt will do it, but it's 2,500 pounds, and I'd probably kill myself.
We'd love if you have a trailer in 2 days.
I know.
Out to the airport.
I can't do it.
Oh.
I can't do it. I've got other big things going on, so I apologize. Anyways, and Ken Sheldon went flying with me, so I'm still, when I have days, I'm still offering rides. It's a glider with electric added to it. Yeah. So. All right. Okay. So thank you for all the additions and everything. It's always great when we have lots of interaction. So if there are no other questions, we'll finish it off. And so I hope to see as many of you possible on the 16th, and then on the 30th of this month. We'll have our next meeting on the 12th of October, and then the 14th of October is the JSC event that's open to the public. So those are, and there's the air show coming up. Yeah. Yeah, right. It's, eclipses, don't always come to us. Yeah. All righty. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.